So I was talking with this nurse friend who is on her break from work. We just talk. She's in a relationship, anyways. The guy she's in a relationship is very much like me, and as I was talking, I realized just something I hadn't talked about before, but that was a big issue. Was in my marriage or dating with my ex or with anybody really, uh, going with that person into a social group. So I already have anxiety about being in a social group or doing social things by myself, but this is a whole different thing. And if anybody out there ever listens to this and knows somebody who's ADHD or is in a relationship with someone who's ADHD, they know how weird it is to go into a social group, like a work group or a work party or anything like that, whom the other person knows. Um, and they know how weird it is, and I'm going to explain it. So there's two dynamics here. When you're the ADHD person and you're taking your spouse or significant other to a party where there's a lot of people that you know or work with, maybe it's a group of your friends. There's that instance, and we're going to talk about that. So what happens is you have this dynamic with your friends, and I know this is general with everybody, whether you're ADHD or not, but it's more magnified with it. We act weird. And it's so noticeable. My ex used to call me out on it all the time, but she'd be like, "What's wrong with you?" Or like, "Why aren't you giving me attention? Like, you're not here by yourself." That's really the crux of it. What happens is whoever you're with gets isolated because you as the ADHD person go off and have to that people pleaser in you has to go off and kind of get that attention in all of these places like you would normally do at work. Like you've never built it in your mind, I guess, to handle this social situation with this other person that you have a completely different social structure with, right? Your significant spouse. Like, you're not there introducing her to everybody. You're like, you've got her with you, but you want to do all the talking. You want to, like, kind of almost get away from your significant other or the person you're dating or your wife, because it's hard to like act the way that you do around these other people with her, because I think deep down you're afraid of the judgment, or you're taking on all of that on you. I don't know if that makes sense, but like it's like you just act weird around everybody. You're no longer this leech, or you're no longer projecting yourself as everybody would see you. Now you've got somebody else that you can't control anymore, so the situation's out of your control, and you're either blushing or you just act like, I don't know, you act like a deer in the headlights almost. It's so weird. It is so weird. And what happens if you're the ADHD person and you go to a group or a party where the significant other knows everybody else, they're introducing you to everybody, and all you're wanting to do is just go off and get attention from your date or significant other. Like you're wanting to get away from the party as soon as you can because they're getting all of the attention and you're getting none. I mean, you're kind of getting attention because she's introducing you better than you ever did with her, but it's not the kind of attention that you like, So all you want to do when you go to these parties is you want to get away. And it's magnified. I mean, that might generally be the case across the board, but it's so magnified with the ADHD, and it's just terrible. It's like torture. But when you're at the party with you, there's all of these people that you know or your friends, and you act a certain way. You have a social structure. You have like who's the alpha, who's the submissive one within it, and you're the funny one. And the thing is the structure, and that doesn't work when you have your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever with you. It just doesn't work anymore. And then you just like you can't act normal around yourself. And then the ADHD person feels bad about having the other person there, and it comes across like you don't want them there. And that's the problem. So like it would come across that I didn't want my ex there because it was like I felt like I was putting out everybody because I wasn't myself. Like I wasn't my normal happy, funny self like I am normally at the office, and somehow my ex was to blame or something. Even though I didn't blame her, I kind of blamed myself for this shortcoming, but she would feel like the third wheel, and she would feel like she wasn't a part of the conversation because I didn't know how to handle that social um, that social I don't know, experience with her. And so this happened so much, like our whole marriage. I couldn't figure out what to do. Like, she'd always remind me, remember, I'm with you. Remember, I'm here. And I would be like, okay, okay, okay. So I keep her with me. And sometimes I was good when she would remind me. But, like, it's hard because, like, from the offset, it seemed that I'm just so self-centered. But for me, it was just me trying to fill that need, that people pleasing. I was people pleasing other people, but really it was a selfish need. It was me getting my drug. It's like me going into a den of crack with crack dealers and having somebody with me that didn't do it, and I had to go and like I needed to go get my crack. So and forgetting who I was with, right? Seemingly like I knew that she was there. But when she was by my side and I would introduce her to people, like it's just, that's not your normal funny, you know? I mean, sure, you have your anecdotal jokes that you have with each other and you kind of your preset, you know, like this, that, whatever. But it still feels out of place. It's so weird. Like you don't feel like you belong at the party even more so. And, I don't know. Like, that's terrible for the spouse or the significant other to feel like you don't want them there. It's like you give off this feeling like you that you have this yeah, I don't know, it just feels so selfish on my side. It just feels so selfish, and it's just I just can't help having those feelings and feeling that pull and that need when I'm in that social situation with a girlfriend or whatever. And so that's kind of scary. Like it didn't change for the whole 10 years. I tried to learn and cope with those feelings, tried to deal with my social whatever. I wouldn't even call it anxiety. Maybe it's anxiety, a form of anxiety, my social awkwardness, my inability to cope with these social situations. I don't know. But I'd be so scared to get in another relationship and make another person feel like that. And that kind of puts me off. Like I'm not, like I had the divorce, I failed with that, and I think it was part of this was a part of the big picture problem, right? So I feel like I'm inadequate to do this again because I don't want to make somebody feel bad about it, you know? And the fact that I'm saying this and I'm talking about me, like I still make it about me. Like I do this blog and it's all about me, me, me. I mean, that's just how it seems to the offset, that all I'm talking about is me. And when I go to these social parties, it's all about me, me, me. And that's the problem. It's like we are, we're social addicts. We get our drug through our interactions, through that attention, whatever and however that attention comes. And so I don't know, that just became apparent to me. Like it just happened all the time, and I couldn't stop it. And no matter how much I would remind myself, like I couldn't, like I needed the crack, you know. Like I would get into that party situation, I would feel anxiety. In order to overcome that anxiety, I needed to get away from whoever I was there with, because I couldn't handle the awkward situation. I felt like I was being rejected, like it was terrible, and maybe it created negative feelings. So on a subconscious level, having these interactions where I didn't want to go into social situations with my spouse, I didn't want to go do anything. I just wanted to stay home, and maybe I was the one that was manipulative and abusive in the end. Even though I thought it was the other way around, I think I was the abuser and was the manipulator. And that's a sad thought to think about. That's a sad realization as I'm talking about it right now.